Alright, welcome to the Master JavaScript course. My name is Kome and I'm going to take you through part 4 where we are going to cover functions and scope. So functions in JavaScript, we look at function declarations or functions that are declared using function declaration, function expressions, arrow functions, military invocable, invoked function expressions, higher order functions, constructor functions, and much more. And this will level up your game to become a master JavaScript developer. So let's get started. I'll create the first function file. I'll just call it function1.js. And here I want to show functions that are declared using function declaration. So I'll give a function a name of hello world. And I want just to console.log hello world. So this is a function, our named function, which is declared using a function declaration. So I'll just save and I'll try to run it using node, current folder, say node function1.js. But now I have not called the function yet. So these functions are usually hosted, which means they are declared at the top of, during compile time, they are taken to the top of their scope, meaning that you can call them before even they are declared. So just call hello world there. And when I save this, then I'm expecting to have my answer just node function1.js. You can see we have hello world there. I can still take this declaration below here, this call, function call, and it will still work the same way. So functions that are declared using a function declaration like this, or named function like this, then they will be taken to the top of their containing scope when they are defined. So this is called what we call function hoisting. This is what we call function hoisting. And this is what we call function hosting. So I'll create my terminal and continue with the first and second type of function. So the second type of function that I'm going to cover is the function that is declared called, or what we call the function expressions, which are functions that are assigned to variables. So let's call it go to function 2, function number 2.js, function 2.js. And these are functions that are assigned to variables. For example, I'll say const message, or maybe message, I just call it message, which I'll call just a function hello, function hello world, and then let's console.log hello world. So this of course is a extra statement, so I'll edit the semicolon. I'll just come and say message and call it like that. So this is called a function expression because it is assigned to a variable or a constant there. So when I come here and say function2.js, I'm expecting hello world. Again, this is different because if I was take it is not hosted. So if I was take the message up there and then try to run, then I'll get an error. As you can see down there, we have what we call cannot access message before initialization. So function expressions in JavaScript, functions that are assigned to variables, cannot be hosted. They are not taken to the top of their containing scope during compile time. So I'll move on to another kind of function that I'll be calling arrow functions. So function number 3.js, function 3.js. So I will call it arrow function. Again, I will still use them. So arrow functions usually use this short syntax like this. So let me say maybe sum. I want the sum of two numbers. So arrow functions are usually like this. So you are saying you use the parenthesis and then the row. Then of course you can say maybe return. Let me say maybe this A and B, return A plus B. So after that, you can come and just call sum and then say 10, 20. So I'll just console.log and then sum. So I'm expecting that in the console. So come in here. I'll call it function number 3.js and I have that there. So you don't have to have this curly brace, or you can have what we call the implicit return if you have just one statement. So you don't have to have this. You can still do away with this and this. And you just have a one-line statement here to still work because arrow functions support what we call a one line or one statement. So again, you can see it's giving me that. But if you have more than two, you have two or more statements, then you have to use the curly brace and the explicit return statement. So again, arrow functions are never wasted. So if you have to come here and put this console.log before here, then you're expecting to have what we call it cannot be accessed before it is initialized. Therefore, again, arrow functions are not wasted. So let's move to something else. Function number 3. So say function number 3.js, function number 4.js. So function number 4.js, I want to cover what we call immediately invoked function expressions. And I want to have it here. So I'll say, for example, I want to have a function, an anonymous function, a function without a name, which I want to just console.log, and then just say hello world. I want this function to be invoked immediately. So if I want it to be invoked immediately, I just put the two curly braces there, the two parentheses there, and then I will have that done as I would like it to have to be done. So I'll just say function number 4. You can see I'm calling it immediately. I have defined it. Let's see what we get. You can see you get hello world. Again, this can be an arrow function. Where we just have something like that. It will still work. So immediately invocable or invoked function expressions still can also be, and they can also be used using arrow functions, and they are very handy when it comes to what we call private scope. They are used for creating private scope. So let's move to function number 4. So I'll call function number 5. Okay, function 5.js, and I want to cover what we call higher order functions. So higher order functions, these are functions that take an argument as a function and also can return a function. So let's look at it. So I will just come here and have a function that will be calling maybe greet, good morning, and then it takes a callback. So a callback is a function that will be executed later after we are done with doing our greet. So then what you can call higher order function, then they can also be having some comments here to always explain what I am doing. So above there, we call it higher order function. All right. So I'll just explain and say takes or returns a function. Takes a function or takes or returns a function. So takes a callback function, and then of course we can call this by a function inside there, callback. And then of course we can declare our callback elsewhere. So we can, for example, come and say function callback or function hello world, or you can come and say console log hello world, and then we come and pass it inside our grid. Then you just say hello world. We pass it there. Let's see what happens. So I'll say function number 5.js, and you can see it's giving us hello world. This is what we call a higher order function. So let's move to another function. So function number 6.js, and this is what I'll be calling a constructor function. These are functions declared using new keyword. So let's have, for example, a function. Let's have a function, maybe an object called person, which is a function that accepts the name of a person, and then assigns this dot name, the name that was passed in that function. So if you have to come here, and then you can create a constant person1, which is equals to new person. So these functions here, and I'll just say comment. So these functions, this is a function. This is a constructor function. It usually starts with a capital letter. And then of course it refers to an object, a function object in this case. So for example, we can come here and say console.log, then pass in our person1 dot name. So this new person, this constructor, a function refers to the new person object that is created. It refers to the new instance, which is now person1, which was created, and therefore we can use now of course person1 dot name to access the name. However, this has been replaced with the modern class syntax in JavaScript, but this is the olden day of doing it, the old days of doing it. So let's come here and call function number 6.js and see what happens. Function 6.js, compile it, and you can see it's outputting my name. So these are constructor functions. So let's move to another kind of function. Function number 7.js. Function number 7.js, and this is what I will be calling a generator functions in JavaScript. So generator functions, these are functions that are defined in the year 2017 in ES, in the year 2015 in ES6, and these are functions that are declared using function and then the asterisk, and they are used to yield or return values in a sequence. So they yield or return values in a sequence. So they are declared using function, and then the asterisk. Then you can give it a name. For example, you can say generate numbers. And you can say maybe yield 1. And then you can have your semicolon. Yield starts with I, yield 1. Yield 2. Yield 3. Then of course from there you can just come now and assign a generator variable to our generate numbers function like that. So from there, of course, we can come and say console.log, and then of course call our generator dot next, using the next function, and then dot value. This will output for us the first number, which is 1. You can come and copy paste this. So move very fast. Copy, paste. So I will save and I will run now. I will run my function number 7 and see function number 7. There is a problem. There is a problem. So let's see. The problem is, let's go back. Generate numbers function. The name function. Function generate numbers. Of course, it must have the parentheses like that, and then you just come here, recompile it. You can see it's giving me 1 and 2. So that is what we call generator functions. I'll move to another function, which is what I call I'll move to the asynchronous functions. Asynchronous, or functions to mimic the asynchronous actions, such as fetching data from the server. So I'll move to function number 8.js, function 8.js. Here we call about async function. Asynchronous function. So asynchronous function returns a promise and can use the await to pause execution until a promise is solved. So the first thing is that it will return a promise, capital P, promise. Again, these are used, they came in the year 2017 in ES8. So they will return a promise and can use await to pause execution. And uses wait to pause execution as promise resolves. So the general structure of an asynchronous function then would be, would have maybe a constant response which awaits for a fetch operation. I'll just demonstrate or illustrate this, and then of course the first thing, it must then start with an async keyword. Then you call our function or give it a name. Let's say function fetch data. And then of course it will have to wait for a fetch operation. And then of course now the fetch operation itself is where we are passing in our API URL. For example, you have https api.fixer.co.ke. So it will await, or it will wait first of all for that fetch operation to happen, and then of course you get response in terms of data. I will say await response.json format. To wait for response in JSON format, and then of course you can come here and say console.log our data. So for now, I may not be able to do the API itself because I don't have the API keys I don't have here, and the URL here is just I want just show a sample, but this is how simply an asynchronous function would look like. But let's try to mimic an asynchronous operation in JavaScript. So I will just come here and maybe pass in our function, which will be just calling fetch data, which takes in itself a callback. And in this callback function, we are going to try to mimic an asynchronous operation. So I'll just say set. I use this JavaScript inbuilt function that first of all accepts 2 parameters. The first parameter is maybe the arrow function, or the function where we want to have operations done, then for how long. So I'll just say for 3000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds. I want 3 seconds to have the following. So I'll just pass in, I will mimic some data here. I'll just say a constant person. This is just an object that could be having a name like username, comma, and then website. These are value key pairs. So I'll say pixel.co.k. So that is a constant that I'm declaring there. So after that, then I just want to come and pass in a callback. And inside that callback, then I'll pass in my data that I have received. So capital P callback person, and then I'll try to display this person. So what happens is that now I can come here, send the first operation, just maybe create a function that I'll be calling maybe display data. And of course, it passes in itself that it receives the data variable. So it's just console.log. I don't need to log out our data. So then I'll come again and call the fetch data and pass in display data function. So I'll save this. So that is our code. I'll try to run function number 8 and see what happens. There's a problem. Unexpected const here, an error here. So okay, save, come here, clear the terminal, run. Let's see what we get. You can see we are getting the username, the website itself. So this is an example where we are mimicking a fetch operation, and remember it is taking 3 seconds. If you wanted to have it take just a second, or it may be a fast operation, you can just see within 1 second we get our feedback. So that is it with the asynchronous function. Again, it takes in itself a callback. So let's move to function number 9. Function number 9.js. And here I'm going to talk about callback function. And simply these are functions passed to other functions as parameters. They are passed to other functions as parameters to be executed at a later time. So let's have, for example, a function hello world. Let's say a function maybe to display the user's profile information. So profile, we just pass in let's just call it function display, or maybe let's just call it profile like that. I'm looking for a good name, and you'll be passing in a callback. So inside here, you just saying console.log, and we'll be coming here and calling the callback function. And then, of course, we must declare the callback itself. You can say function hello, maybe display username. And then we'll just say console.log comment. So it's just doing a simple operation there. Then of course, when I call the profile, you can come here and just call the display username. So this is a callback function. This is a callback function which is passed in here and called back later in our function. So and just come here and call the function number 9. You can see it's displaying my name. Let's make this an arrow function. So instead of declaring it elsewhere, we can just come here and say console, because it's just a one-line statement. Go away with all this. Let's create a shorter code for it. So I'll just say console.log Kelvin, then end with a semicolon there. This is an arrow function that takes that. Let's see whether it will run as you would expect. And you can see it's still running. So that is what we call a callback function. So let's look at anonymous function. So anonymous function, so I just copy this code here and I'll use it to show the anonymous function or functions which don't have any name. So I'll just come here and call function number 10.js, and I'll just paste this code for now. I'll just call this anonymous function. They don't have a name, and they're mainly used as arguments in higher order functions. Don't have no name and are used as higher order function parameters. Are used in higher order functions that we covered earlier. So let's come here and say that we want to have displayed an example of a anonymous function is the set timeout function, which will be saying then, which takes in itself, maybe it can take a parameter such as the callback itself here. So it can take the callback. So let's have a function which returns the callback, and then let it execute after every 2000 milliseconds. Every 2 seconds, after 2 seconds, let's have Kelvin. So I'll just come here and you can see after 2 seconds it is outputting. So let's say let it be after 5 seconds so that you can see the difference. So you can see the callback there, callback function console. Okay, profile callback function. Yes, I think that is okay with that. So let's continue to something else. So let's have something here. Let's say, for example, we say const. Let's just leave it like that. What if we removed all this and said set timeout, and then here we say hello world. Or console.log hello world. Let's see what we would have. Yes, you can see it is still working. What if we use just a function here, an anonymous function without a name? So you can have a function here, again you have a function here, and then you can call it like this, like that. Let's see what we get. Although the set timeout itself is an example of an anonymous function. So let's move to another sample, to the last part, which is now function number 11. where you'll be covering what we call closures function number 11.js, and you'll be looking at closure. So a closure, you can access this simply a nested function that has access to outer functions, variables, even after the outer function has finished executing. So executing. So let's see that. So I want to declare a function. We'll be calling function outer counter, and inside this function I will declare a block label scope, a variable called count, which I initialize to 0. Then I'll return an inner counter function that takes this dot count, then adds it to, and then adds 1 to it. So return inner counter, return function inner counter, and then it will take this count and then add 1 to it and then return. So if a function has access to a function, an outer function, then we say that is a closure. So let's come here and try to see whether that is true. So we can come and assign maybe a const counting equals to, because this I'll just call it small o outer counter inner counter is equals to outer counter, and then I just call counting. I just say console dot log counting. Let's see what happens. So function number 10, let's see where it goes to 1. Okay, hello world. Function number 11, sorry. Return inner counter function. So what do we take this here? Just call the counting, and this will just make it console dot log this dot count plus plus. Let's see what happens there. Not a number. Not a number. So I will try to let count be equals to 0, function inner counter, return function inner counter. Okay. Or let's just instead of using this, let's just talk about the count plus plus and see what happens. Zero, count plus 1, 1. So let's call the counting again. Let's say count. Let's call counting 1 time, counting 2 times, counting 3 times. We're expecting it to retain the value of count every new time, even if the outer count has finished executing. Let's see. 1, 1, 1. inner counter. So let count is equals to count plus 1. Let's look at, let's try to, let us try to, let us try to return let us try to counting function. Let's have this function in a counter. Let's just return in a counter. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's undo that. Okay, it's okay. Let's return in a counter. So console.log count plus 1. What if we say it accesses the value of 1 the last time? So I think that it's still working because you can see counting here is accessing the value of, after the increment to 1, it's still accessing the value of 1. And then of course it is, when you call the function again, it will return, it will go to take count to 0. So let's continue with something else. So I think this is okay. Let's leave it at that point because of time. So let's continue to the last part, which now is what I'll be calling a scope or the context of the this object. So the this object so we'll be talking about this JavaScript, JavaScript.js. So here I want to talk about the context of the this object. So if I was to come here and say console.log this, then I would expect this to move to the context of this to be the global or the window if it was in the browser. So if I was to say node this JavaScript.js, you can see it's giving me the global object. But if I was to say use strict here, which came in ES5 in the year 2007, then you realize that use strict, then you realize that it will give me something else that like undefined. Use strict. Okay, let's see. Use strict. Okay, console.log this. 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 Okay. So use strict. So console.log this. This gives us the global object. We'll come to see the use strict later. So what if now we had a function? We had maybe let's say a const. Let's say we had a const, maybe person, a person object, which takes the name of a person or the username for me, and it also takes maybe a function like a greet function. Then if you say console.log and let's say this dot username, then the context of this function, so function has an like that. So this would refer to the person object if we came here and create a constant person1 is equals to person.greet. Then if we have to output here console, maybe we have to call person1, maybe call just person1.greet here. You would expect to get the username. You can just use something else. You can use what you call the template literals, where I can come and just say hello and then of course use the $, and then the brackets like that. So that will still give us, it's using template literals to put something to our string. So to a string to our, maybe format our string variables. So I know this JavaScript, let's say, yes, let's run it. You can see hello, I'm coming. Of course, this is the template literal using the backticks, and of course it takes the $, and then the variables for the JavaScript is injected in the string using this syntax. So you can see this refers to the username. It refers to the person object. This here, the context of this is the person object. So if you have functions then that don't have, if we call, for example, person.greet, then this refers to the person object. But you could have, if you don't have a calling object, let's say, for example, let's have another function hello world. Okay, hello world, and then you come and say console.log hello world. So if we, okay, console.log, let's log in this context. This, of course, there's a difference because this would show, if you had called the hello world here, hello world, this would refer to the global object because there's no calling object. It would therefore revert to the global scope. So you can see that is what we are getting there, the global object. Okay. What if we use strict? Now, so you can use strict. What would we get? Let's see. Would it refer to the global object, or it would return for us something else? That is the word. You can see it returning for us undefined. Like that is very now clear. Why you have the use strict and then you are calling this inside the function that is not within the context of an object, then we will possibly revert to the global. And since global now we use the use strict, then it will revert to undefined. Otherwise, for this hello world or hello I'm coming, this one refers to the person object. This refers to the person object, and it will still output our object, maybe our username, as you would expect. This here refers to the person object. So let's look at something else. Then we can also have arrow functions. What if we add an arrow function here? So if we add an arrow function, it will still access. Let's have another function here. So you can name this there. Let's have another function. Let's say I'll be calling it evening greeting. I'll just call it const evening greeting is equals to, then I will use the arrow function like that, and then I will just come here and say, of course, it will end with a semicolon. I will come here and say console.log hello or good evening again the same song and dance. This dot username. So of course you can come here and call the evening. Greeting. You can come there and call the evening greeting. So let's see what happens. What happens is that now you can see this arrow function here. This arrow function here, this username will be borrowed from the greet. Or rather, the arrow function here has its own this context. So it will move outside its lexical scope. And it will move it outside its lexical scope, and it will access the username from there as the same as what the greet would access. So greet would access this dot username, therefore this evening greeting arrow function will still access what the greet would access. So it goes outside its lexical scope, it's in its lexical scope or surrounding scope, and accesses what its surrounding scope accesses as this context. So let's run this. Let's run it and see. You can see it's good evening. Again, it's accessing it the way it should be. So let's move to now. What if you wanted to pass your own, the last part, to apply your own this context? What if you wanted to apply your own this context? You can use the apply, the call, and the bind. So these are methods available for on functions to explicitly set this context. So I'll just call set this .js. So I'll say to explicitly set this context in JS. You can use call, bind, call, apply, and bind. So let's demonstrate it using the call. Let's demonstrate it using the call. So I'll just say function greeting is equals to, and I'll pass the greeting. I'll just maybe call it function hello. Okay, it's okay. Let's call it hello world. I'll pass in the greeting, and I'll pass in the punctuation. Function. I don't know why the I comes before the O. The O comes before the I there. Function. So here I'll just say console.log. I will say hello. I'll just use the string templates here. And I will say hello. And then I'll pass in the greeting. And then I'll pass in the punctuation. So I'm expecting hello. So the greeting, I'll just leave in the hello then. I'll just pass in the greeting, which could be something like hello, and then the punctuation, maybe an apostrophe. So here, what if we wanted to explicitly pass this context there? What if we need to explicitly pass this context? So this dot greeting, and then this dot punctuation. So of course, let's pass in the name of the person, the username. Then of course you can say the greeting. You can pass in our greeting. Hello, maybe greeting Come, and then apostrophe, greeting Martin, and then apostrophe. So like that, then you can come here and you want to bind this to the person object, which takes in itself the username of a person. And I'll pass in Come and the punctuation. I also pass in, just let me pass in just the username for now. So I will come and call the hello world function, and then I will just apply. I will apply it, and then I'll pass in the object that it is referring to, or this context. I want it to refer to the person, so I will pass in the person, and then I can pass in the arguments. So the argument is username. So for the username, I will pass in the I'll pass in I'll print okay, I will print the person, and I'll assume that we have a punctuation here. Person, punctuation. So now I'll just use the apostrophe like that. So I'll press print in person object. I'll print in the person. It's okay. Let's see what happens. Let's see whether it works. But here you pass it simply prints these properties. Let's see. Set this. I'm calling it set this.ps. Oh, there's a problem. The spread will not work. So I will just come here and pass. Let me pass it explicitly. Bind it. Okay, I'll bind it to person. Sorry, I can come here and maybe say. Maybe I just say greeting. Hi. Let me spend the hi and see. So you can come and say const hi equals to but will it make sense really? There's no need of complicating things, so just let me pass in the punctuation. So the username borrowed from here, and then the punctuation will just pass in this. So let's rerun our code. Still a problem. Hello.apply. Okay, apply passes in an array. So let's just use the call. So I'll come here. The greeting call me, that is okay. What if we were to spend this person? What would happen? Let's just try. Person. Okay, what would we get? Let's see. Something different. So let's remove the punctuation. Let's remove that. Let's just pass apostrophe there. Let's see what we get. A greeting, call me, and then this dot punctuation would be undefined. So why would it be undefined then? So greeting, call me, and then the punctuation would be the second parameter. As on this dot punctuation, so this dot punctuation, I think that is, there's no need of having this, just passing the punctuation there. That's why we have undefined. And now punctuation. This dot username. person. This is the props. So here you have name, the username, we didn't even pass this. Let's pass in the greeting here. The greeting. And then this dot username will still be there. Let's now have our greeting here. Greeting. And let's pass in the greeting as the second parameter. Hello. Let's see what happens. Hello. Oh man, that is okay. So you can see I've explicitly passed the by the end of these two. So if you have to use the apply, then you pass this as an array, just like that. So you still come here and you still get the same thing. But now with the bind, what happens is that you create a new object, a new functions altogether that you permanently bind to this context to. So for example, up to this point, let's say we just had the hello only. Then if we have the hello one only, then we could come here and bind and assign this to another variable. Let's say const bounded hello world will be equals to this. This is now, it is not invoked immediately, this hello world, but it is at this time bounded hello world is context is usually bounded, is permanently bounded to the person object, and then also we have the preset argument hello that is usually binded with it. Now if you have to come here and just call bounded hello world, by this time it knows that the person object is there and the first preset argument is there, so we can just pass in the, you can be calling this anytime we need. You can just pass in the apostrophe and still our code will work as we would expect. So I hope we covered very much there. I hope it helped you so much. Please, if it helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel and share it, and share the content on your platforms, on Twitter, wherever. Follow me also, Kelvin K on Twitter, and I will appreciate for that. Also check my content at fixer.co.ke and share it so that others can also benefit with it. I hope it was very long, but I'm sorry. I never knew it would take this much. I just recorded it that raw. I hope that helped you so much. See you later in the next one, in lesson number 5 or part number 5, where we look at classes in JavaScript. Thank you.